Welcome back to the programme. The cost of private dental treatment means Brits are heading to Turkey and they're in search of that picture-perfect smile. Things, however, don't always go according to plan. Award-winning London dentist Dr Rhona joins me now in the studio. Hello, thank you for coming. And from Belfast, we're going to be talking to Amanda Turner. Amanda went to Turkey for a dental makeover, but it didn't quite turn out the way she wanted it to. Amanda, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Let's talk to Amanda first, and then you can explain and we can discuss. So, Amanda, hello. Give me a smile for starters. Hello. You look lovely. Look at that beautiful smile. So tell me what was going on with your teeth and how come you ended up in Turkey?
So basically, while I was pregnant with my youngest son, who's on my knee here sleeping, I have had a lot of problems with my teeth. So I have been back and forward to the dentist, and then on my appointment that I had to have a tooth extracted and some root canal treatments done, my children were admitted to hospital with the norovirus.
Oh God!
I missed my appointment, and I would have had to wait a longer period to be seen on the NHS. So I looked at my options abroad, and I went to Turkey for a smile makeover.
Okay, and so what were you hoping for, Amanda, at the end of the treatment? What did you think you were going to go home with? What would they have sorted out for you? What would they have solved? And how would you look?
I was under the belief that I was having root canal treatments and 28 individual crown teeth.
And what actually happened? What happened when you got there?
Sorry. I was actually given 6 bridges, 3 to the top and 3 to the bottom. They were linked together, which made it impossible to be able to look after my oral hygiene and to floss and brush my teeth properly.
Tell me about the treatment when you were out there, because I hear it was agonisingly painful.
It was, yes. While I was there, I didn't get the root canal treatments that I was led to believe that I would be receiving. I wasn't aware that I was going to be having bridges fitted. I thought that I was going to have...
I think he's adding immeasurably to the item. I love him. What's his name?
This is Connor.
Hello, he's doing a really fantastic job. He's making excellent faces of all different descriptions. He's illustrating what you're saying. He's making it more vivid. He's just fabulous. Connor, you're absolutely terrific. You're welcome on the show any day, any afternoon. So, Amanda, it hurt like hell. Your mouth was full of bridges. It wasn't what you wanted. How much did it cost?
I paid £3,050 for the treatment in Turkey, and then that included my hotel was included, and also was my transfers to and from the airport and the hotel. Okay,
so what happened when you got back? Were you chomping on steak and smiling away and living happily ever after, or not really?
I was not, no. I was fitted with these bridges, incorrectly fitted. I was in a lot of pain. When I said about my distress to the clinic, they blocked me. They had me thrown out of my hotel.
Wow.
They cancelled my transfers back to the airport. The British Embassy had to step in and help me get safe passage.
I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to cut away from your beautiful face, and we're going to look at the teeth situation, because we've got some pictures of your teeth. Oh, God, look at that. Cripes. Oh, gosh. Any other pictures? Oh, goodness me. Gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. So you get back home, and then what? Oh, God, what's that?
That's the hole in my throat. I had to have drains fitted in Belfast to clear my airways and help me breathe.
Oh,
I had many bacterial infections, and I nearly died as a result.
And how are you now?
I'm getting better with the help of Dr Rhona and the entire team at the Chelsea Dental Clinic.
Lord.
I'm on the mend.
Oh, God, well, my goodness, that's absolutely ghastly. Let's bring Dr Rhona in here to just set the scene and explain a little about this. So we have somebody here who misses her appointment. She's got young kids. She thinks it'll be really good. I'll just nip over to Turkey. Can I afford it? Somehow she gets the money and they'll sort me out there. It'll be convenient. Maybe she'll get a bit of sunshine. You know, you can see why it is that people think it's a reasonable option. So explain what went wrong and then tell me what your perspective is on this.
Well, ultimately, the thing is the aftercare wasn't there. And I think that that's the massive problem. When people go and travel abroad to have their teeth done, they don't recognise that they can't just get a flight back if something goes wrong. The problem was as well is that there was no consent, really. Amanda wasn't given the full treatment options. And again, I've seen this time and time again. People go abroad and they think that the only option is 24 crowns. crowns require drilling of the entire surface of the tooth. Most people lose about 70 to 80% of their natural tooth structure. And as a result, this leads to further problems: root canals, pains, infections, and eventually the teeth can snap at the gum line. Also, they don't account for the fact that remedial work may need to be done. So often when something goes wrong, they can't fly back. So they go down to the local dentist and it costs 3 to 4 times more as much as they spent when they went abroad.
And what happened to her when she ended up with a hole in the throat and a hospital treatment and so ill that she nearly died? So she obviously had the worst possible reaction, but what was it that she was reacting to?
So what had happened was that the tooth that had been drilled had been compromised, not proper care, planning and execution was done to deal with this tooth. The tooth reacted, the nerves got infected, and it spread all the way down to her airways, which compromised her breathing.
Oh my God.
So at the time I was speaking to Amanda, she was in Ireland. She had to go on to A&E, as she said, and was on a drip and so forth. And, it was a really harrowing time. As you can see, she's got 2 kids. And, it was really difficult. It was really, really difficult. And since then, it's taken a team of 5 specialists at the clinic to deal with this work. And Amanda spent about 40 hours in the chair just kind of doing the reparative work. We're not even finished yet. So really, I think that people aren't recognising, they go and they think, oh, I'm getting, a great deal. I'm going to get sorted in a relatively short amount of time. Why don't I get this done? And don't get me wrong, Vanessa, you have correctly said people are struggling to get appointments.
Exactly. People are struggling to even find a dentist.
100%.
And then they're struggling to get on the list, and then they're struggling to get the appointment, then they're struggling to afford to pay for it. Even on the NHS, you still have to pay. It's not completely free, is it? Yeah. And people are resorting to pulling out their own teeth. You hear this more and more.
Yeah, it is a crisis. And, I think that this is something that's not going away. I think the pandemic had a knock-on effect because dentists were shut for the first 3 months of the pandemic. A lot of people with dental pain were going to doctors. Doctors were like, I don't know what to do with this toothache. And it became more and more of a problem. Also, reversible diseases became irreversible by the time they could see dentists. Yes. And because of the backlog and all the restrictions with COVID, less and less patients were being seen. And as you said, most people don't have that accessibility. I think it's unfair. And of course, that's why people are thinking, why don't I just go abroad? It seems like the right thing to do. It is a system problem, in my opinion. I think that the way that the system is run is very much target-focused rather than patient-focused. I was on the NHS for 8 years, and I had to do checkups sometimes in 6 or 7 minutes because I had to reach targets, very similar to the GPs. And I just believe that you can't provide the level of care that patients really deserve in such short amounts of time. Mm-hmm. And also, the resources just aren't there.
Let me ask you about programmes like TOWIE, like Made in Chelsea,
yeah.
Like Love Island, where every contestant seems to have this perfect set of piano key teeth. Some of them much more obviously false than others.
Yes.
Some of them much too big, some of them much too white. Rylan, who's a very good friend of mine, has written and spoken about having all of his redone, and it was a real pain. He had to be knocked out with general anaesthetic to get the first lot of crowns or veneers off or whatever it was. So it looks as if it's accessible. It looks as if lots of people are having it done. But is it really a very extreme kind of treatment? Is it something that isn't for everyone and shouldn't be?
Oh, I love this question because I do think in some cases it's an elective cosmetic treatment, like you said. And because you have seen so many people, you might say, well, their teeth weren't that bad to begin with. Why did they get it done? And I often say it's almost like having plastic surgery. The decision cannot be made lightly. It's irreversible, which is really important. If you choose to have a rhinoplasty, it's going to change your face, and you can't go back.
Nose job in plain English, yeah.
So if you can't go back, and it's a decision you think this is permanent, and I have to stick to it. However, in some cases, people do have broken teeth, infected teeth. They might have had genetic disorders. They might have had poor oral hygiene, infections and so forth. So if your teeth are made to look nicer as part of treating you for kind of medical reasons, fine. But in some cases it is elective, and I think a lot more open conversations need to be had about what is involved and what the costs reoccurring would be involved as well.
Because really you're having perfectly good teeth in many instances, filed down, down. You can't grow them again. They can't come back.
No.
And at some point it's likely that the veneer might ping off or disappear or something or other.
Yeah.
And then you haven't got much left to fix it to. Even if you had an excellent British dentist looking after you, it's still not easy. Is that right?
Yeah. And I think the thing is there's been massive misconceptions. So some people are calling these crowns veneers. So online they say, oh, I've had crowns, or this clinic's provided veneers. But they're actually crowns. So crowns are when you cut down the whole surface of the tooth. Veneers are only shaving off the front surface of the tooth. If you go to a good dentist, and there are good dentists in the UK and abroad, they might cut off a little bit, which isn't as much of a big deal as a crown. But once the crown is done, it's much more destructive than a veneer. So I think, again, people need to understand what they're getting done and how much drilling is involved.
Okay. As we're talking, there must be some people watching and listening today who have been to Turkey or elsewhere, other kinds of dental tourism, and are perfectly satisfied with what they've had. It isn't guaranteed that just because you go, it's going to be a disaster, is it?
No, I think it's really unfair, actually, that a particular country is kind of being
penalised, singled out for criticism.
Yeah, and I don't agree with it at all. And I think, you know, the terms that are being used are really unfair, because some of the best dentists in the world actually reside in Turkey and do brilliant work. But it is about doing your research. It's about asking the right questions and having the options, because crowns are not your only options. Braces might be an option, just whitening, minimal veneers, something called bonding. So you've got to go in, have the right questions, look at reviews, look at their before and afters, and just do your research before you commit to it.
What about just basically looking after your teeth? You're not having anything cosmetic, you're not having whitening, you're not fiddling about with them. All you want is to make sure you haven't got many holes in them, and if you have, you've got the cavities nicely filled up and your teeth are okay. You've got decent dental hygiene and your teeth are all right. But you can't find a dentist. You can't find an NHS dentist. Funds are hard. You know, there's a cost of living crisis. People haven't got money sloshing about. It's almost impossible for people in that situation, isn't it?
It's totally impossible. And I think you're right. Practicing oral hygiene, prevention is better than cure. So making sure that you're brushing really well, flossing, etc., having a good diet. That's all very well, because there's a lot of people still in pain. There are actually some excellent charities out there, something called the Oral Health Foundation, for example, where they can give you impartial advice and direct you to the right people. They can also liaise with the university hospitals as well. So there are some options like that that can help people.
Thank you so much for coming in. Everybody beware dental tourism. Goodness gracious. Thank you to Dr Rhona Iskander and to Amanda Turner as well. Coming up, is the dinner party a thing of the past? This is Vanessa Feltz live on Talk TV.